So now that the new financial year is here, let's hope some work actually kicks in for good production people and commercial radio on the whole gets more life. So, as a commercial producer, have you actually reset your template lately? Around the last 3.5 months, you've probably done very little, if any, commercial production. If you're lucky, good on you. If you haven't, your ears have probably reset. So let's look at it seriously. Over a period of time, even if it's just a week, you make a commercial and you're trying to make that stand out, and then the next one stands out further and further and further, and the more commercials you make, the more and more you try and stand it out, and you tend to increase your compression a little just to give it that little extra kick. So what I want you to do is step back and have a listen to what you've done. Go and look at a commercial you made even last week, or even 3 months ago and 6 months ago. Have a listen and see how you feel about the compression. You can hear the compression. You'll hear that you've got harder and harder and harder at it. If you haven't, good on you, well done. But if you have, then this is the time to reset while your ears have reset. So what have I done? Well, let's have a look. So this is the mixer. Down the left hand side we have the voice tracks. There are 4 voice tracks involved in this. The L1 limiter, then an EQ, then an R compressor, followed by Greg Wells voice centric, and then just a frequency analyzer at the end. This all gets sent to the voice processor, where we've got more monitoring, a couple more compressors, and this here compressor here, the F6, it allows me to pick up when a voice is a little sharp in a certain place. I can narrow down on that frequency, and only on that frequency I can either expand on that volume if it's too low, or I can take the volume down in that frequency. I can adjust the compression on that and work on its release time as well. So if I want it to be just on that sharp point, it can be a very quick attack time and a very quick release time, and we're off and running again. Sometimes use it if something needs to be de-essed quicker than normal. Then also another one of the F6s on the end, that's just to bring up a little bit before we finally compress. We do mix centric from Greg Wells again. I like it because it's just a dial in, dial out. And then the old faithful right at the end, the L1 Ultra Maximizer. So that is the old one, all right? And I thought this was pretty good when I made it back in January. So this is the new template. So here's where we do all the assembly. This one, as I said before, 4 voice tracks, 4 stereo tracks, and then the buses, the mix buses that things go to. The print tracks there, I use that sometimes when I want to play and record the whole thing. I like to look at the picture of the WAV file as well, just to see exactly how it goes. And remember, dynamics. It's got to have dynamics, otherwise it's got nothing. And we move on to the mixer side of things. Again, like I said, 4 voice tracks. The L1 limiter remains. The 7-band EQ is still there. Greg Wells and the limiter. But these are all way lighter than they used to be. Way lighter. The Dara again is there. I've used the L3 multi-maximizer just to give it a bit of a lift. And then the F6 again is just in there to do it. So all the voice tracks go across to the voice processor. They are monitored by the Dara again, just because I can. The L3 Maxim and the F6 run that through, and I run the dynameter too. I'll explain dynameter in another video, which I find very handy. That goes to the final mix. The stereo tracks get routed across to the balance track. The balance track goes straight to the final mix, because remember, the music that you're using, and in fact the sound effects too, have all been properly produced. So they've already been compressed. So you don't want to hit them any harder. You actually try and want to make a channel in that to let your commercial voiceover, or what you're doing with the commercial, cut through the middle of that. You'll notice on the end, on the master itself, which has no impact at all in the final sound of the commercial. But I used the loudness penalty to see what we've got and what things might happen. The dynameter again, just to see, and it's just me being silly. I'll use one or the other. Mainly it's the dynameter, and then the Dara across the end there, just to make sure we're not peaking, we're not going to peak, and there's plenty of dynamics. So there it is. That's the way my template looks. Remember, you can make small little tweaks, but don't be too aggressive on the attenuation. I'd sooner see, for me, I'd sooner have another compressor and just hit the attenuator and increase the loudness in increments. It's called chain compression, and it seems to work for a lot of the big producers in music, so I thought I'd try it here in the radio land. Anyway, that's the way it sits. Once we get back to some more work, we'll be able to aggressively challenge that template and see exactly where we're going to go with it. You can make small changes, as I said, but make them small. There you go. Hope that's helped you if your template is needing adjustment or you want to try something different. We'll see you next time.